Welcome back, Lincoln currency. In the dim light of an early morning, when the world was still asleep and the hum of daily life had not yet begun, a faint metallic glint on the floor of an old American diner caught the eye of a man who had no idea that his life was about to change forever. It wasn't gold, it wasn't silver, it was something much smaller, almost invisible to most people, but it carried a story worth more than fortune itself. A simple penny. A 1 US cent coin dated 2000. For decades, people walked past these tiny copper-colored discs without giving them a second thought, tossing them in jars, dropping them in donation boxes, leaving them on counters as tips, and yet one coin among billions had silently carried a secret so massive, so unbelievable, that when its story was uncovered, it shook the entire numismatic world to its core. This wasn't just a coin, it was history, it was art, and for the one who discovered its mystery, it was worth a staggering $43 million. The year 2000 was a symbolic mark, the start of a new millennium, the dawn of a digital age, and a turning point in American minting history. The U.S. Mint had already been refining its techniques for decades, but the 2000 penny came with its own unique character. On its face stood the enduring profile of Abraham Lincoln, the 16th President of the United States, whose sharp eyes and proud expression had graced the 1-cent coins since 1909. But this particular year's issue held something mysterious, a small difference invisible to the naked eye, a flaw or a perfection depending on how you looked at it, that would someday make one single coin out of over 14 billion minted become one of the most valuable pennies on earth. Imagine for a moment, holding a coin so common that nobody would look twice at it, yet that very same coin being capable of changing your destiny. Its weight, just 2.5 grams. Its diameter, 19 millimeters. Its composition, 97.5% zinc and 2.5% copper plating, a formula that had replaced the earlier bronze alloy after 1982. Nothing about it screams rarity. Nothing at all. Yet deep within that copper-plated surface, beneath the wear and tarnish of 25 years, lies a story of precision, imperfection, and pure luck colliding in one tiny round object. Because this isn't just a penny, it's a ticket to one of the greatest hidden treasures of modern numismatics. Every coin collector dreams of that one extraordinary find. A coin that shouldn't exist. A coin that carries a minting anomaly or a design feature so rare that experts debate for years whether it was an accident or a secret strike made intentionally. And in the case of the 2000 penny, whispers began to spread among coin forums, auctions, and collectors' conventions across America. Stories surfaced of one coin that bore microscopic differences. The Lincoln bust slightly shifted, the Liberty lettering marginally doubled, the date imprinted in an unusual way that defied minting standards. At first, it sounded like another urban legend, another tale for dreamers digging through their old change jars hoping for a miracle. But when an actual specimen was authenticated by a private collector and later examined under magnification by experts, the impossible turned out to be true. There was indeed a 2001 cent coin unlike any other, struck at the Philadelphia Mint with an astonishing minting irregularity that made it one of a kind. The discovery didn't happen overnight. It took years of fascination, countless hours of examination, and pure chance. The man who found it wasn't even a collector. He was just an ordinary American, a mechanic from Indiana who loved to collect coins casually, tossing the interesting ones into a small wooden box in his garage. One morning, while sorting through hundreds of coins he had saved over the years, he noticed that one penny had an odd shine under the light. The color seemed deeper, the luster more vibrant than the rest. At first, he thought it was a foreign coin mixed by accident. But when he looked closer, the date 2000 stared back at him. He turned it over, noticing that the Lincoln memorial on the reverse wasn't aligned the way it should be. There was a faint doubling on the columns, something only seen on rare double-die errors. Curious but unaware of its magnitude, he decided to take it to a local coin shop. The shop owner laughed when he first saw it, but after peering through a jeweler's loupe, his smile faded. He called another dealer. Then another. Within a week, the coin was the center of a mystery that soon exploded across the coin community. When word broke out that a single 2000 penny might be worth millions, collectors began raiding their stashes, searching through every coin jar, drawer, and box they could find. The 1-cent coin had become a symbol of hope, that something so small, so overlooked, could be hiding a secret fortune in plain sight. The media picked up the story, headlines screamed about the $1 million penny, and auction houses prepared for a frenzy. But as experts dove deeper into the analysis, they discovered something even more shocking. This wasn't just a doubled die or a misaligned strike. The metallic composition of the coin itself was different. Instead of being made primarily of zinc with copper plating, it contained a strange hybrid structure, traces of bronze and even minute levels of silver, an impossible combination for the year 2000 minting process. That meant one of two things: either a minting experiment had gone wrong, or this coin was an intentional test strike that somehow escaped the mint's secure facility. Either way, it wasn't supposed to exist. That revelation sent shockwaves through the numismatic community. How did such a coin get out? Was it smuggled? Was it an accident? Theories began to spread like wildfire. Maybe it was struck using leftover blanks from an earlier batch, maybe a mint employee secretly created it as a prototype, or perhaps it was minted under extraordinary circumstances right at the turn of the millennium as a symbolic piece marking the year 2000. Whatever the origin, one thing was certain: the coin was unique. And its uniqueness gave it value beyond imagination. The penny was sent to professional grading services for authentication. It was sealed in a protective holder, assigned a certification number, and labeled as one of the rarest known modern mint errors in American history. When it finally hit the auction block, bidding started modestly, but within minutes, the numbers skyrocketed. 10,000, 50,000, 100,000, collectors were losing their minds. The final bid stopped at $43 million. A single penny that once bought nothing more than a piece of gum was now worth more than a mansion, more than a fleet of luxury cars, more than some small companies. But beyond its insane market value, this penny carried a deeper meaning. It reminded the world that history can hide in the smallest places. That sometimes value isn't just about gold or diamonds, it's about the story, the rarity, and the passion behind it. Because every coin ever minted tells a story of its time. The 2000 penny wasn't just a piece of metal, it was a reflection of a new century, a new era of minting, and a new legacy in American history. The front design, featuring Abraham Lincoln, is more than just a portrait, it's a tribute to leadership and resilience. The reverse, depicting the Lincoln Memorial, symbolizes unity and remembrance. Together, they capture the soul of America, a nation that treasures even the smallest symbols of its identity. And yet, within that noble design, hidden flaws turn beauty into fortune. Every scratch, every anomaly, every unexpected imperfection told a secret tale of how machines and humans, precision and error, merged to create a miracle. The gleaming copper finish might fool you into thinking it's ordinary, but under a microscope, the texture reveals uneven layering and faint traces of other metals that shouldn't be there. Experts later discovered that a handful of test strikes were made at the end of 1999 using experimental blanks for the year 2000 minting run, meant to test plating consistency and die alignment. These test coins were supposed to be destroyed. Somehow, one slipped through. And that single survivor became the $43 million legend. Collectors across the world have since been obsessed with this mystery. Was there more than one? Could there be another hidden in circulation, sitting in someone's coin jar or wedged between couch cushions? Every day, new hopefuls pick up their magnifying glasses, hunting through piles of change in search of that same hidden treasure. The 2000 penny became a symbol of possibility, a reminder that even in the most ordinary places, extraordinary things can exist. What makes this coin even more captivating is the way it bridges eras. On one hand, it carries the legacy of over a century of Lincoln cents. On the other, it represents the precision and digital minting age of the new millennium. The U.S. Mint had embraced modern technology by 2000, with advanced laser-engraved dies and automated quality control. The idea that an error or unique strike could escape such advanced systems made the story even more unbelievable. Yet, here it was, proof that no system, no matter how perfect, could erase the possibility of a miracle. Collectors began comparing the coin's imagery, tracing microscopic lines, studying die cracks, and analyzing metal density. They found that the rare 2000 penny exhibited a die rotation of 15 degrees and a doubling effect on the word liberty, something unseen in other standard issues. The reverse showed faint variations in the memorial steps, and a subtle ghost image below Lincoln's bust, possibly a remnant of a previous die alignment. Every discovery added more fascination to the legend. It wasn't just an error coin, it was an artistic ACC. Every story has a beginning, and every beginning hides a journey that shapes what follows. The story of the 1 US cent 2000 coin does not start in the year 2000. It begins much earlier, more than a century before, in the heart of America's promise, when coins were not just currency, but messages in metal, reflections of identity and values engraved in copper and bronze. The penny, small and almost insignificant, carried the image of a man whose leadership saved a nation torn apart by war. Abraham Lincoln's face had been there for generations, reminding everyone of endurance, honesty, and unity. But little did anyone know that one day, that same image would be part of a mystery so deep that even the mint itself could not explain it completely. The year 2000 was more than just a turn of the calendar. It was the world's entrance into a new age of technology and progress. Everything was changing: communication, design, manufacturing, even the way money was made. The United States Mint had begun using newer high-speed coin presses, digital engraving systems, and quality control scanners designed to eliminate errors that plagued older minting methods. In theory, a coin struck in the year 2000 should have been the perfect embodiment of precision. Yet, this perfection was exactly what made the discovery of the rare 2000 penny so mind-bending. How could something so advanced, so controlled, produce a mistake so monumental that it became a once-in-a-lifetime phenomenon? When the millennium dawned, millions of Americans were celebrating hope, progress, and the digital future. Meanwhile, deep inside the Mint's production rooms, hundreds of tons of metal planchets, small blank discs waiting to be turned into coins, clattered through conveyor belts and feeders. They would soon become the faces of commerce, passing through millions of hands. Each one was tested, measured, and struck under tremendous pressure, bearing the image of Lincoln on one side and the Lincoln Memorial on the other. Billions were minted that year, over 14 billion, to be exact. And in that massive ocean of sameness, one coin would be born with a difference that defied reason. At that moment, no one inside the mint could have imagined that a tiny anomaly, invisible to the human eye, would one day be worth $43 million. The machine struck thousands of coins per minute, each one gleaming as it slid into bins, later bagged and distributed across banks, stores, and circulation channels. Somewhere in that flow, one coin, just one, was struck differently. The dies might have shifted a fraction of a millimeter, the metal composition might have been slightly off, or the temperature in the annealing furnace might have fluctuated by a degree. Whatever it was, that subtle difference created a coin that didn't belong to any known category. It wasn't a misstrike, it wasn't a die crack, it wasn't even a double die in the ordinary sense. It was something more complex, a hybrid between precision and imperfection that experts still struggle to fully explain. As time passed, this extraordinary coin traveled through hands and pockets without being noticed. Maybe it bought a candy bar, maybe it sat in a tip jar, maybe it lay forgotten in a drawer for years. Its surface bore fingerprints, scratches, and the marks of ordinary life, while its true worth remained hidden beneath a thin layer of copper. Every journey this penny took was part of its destiny. Every exchange, every unnoticed glance, every moment of neglect built up the legend that would later explode into history. And then, as fate would have it, one random morning in a quiet town, an ordinary man discovered what everyone else had missed. That's when the story truly began. It wasn't just about money, it was about fate, patience, and curiosity. Because that man, with nothing more than curiosity and luck, held in his hand something the world didn't know existed, a relic of modern minting that would challenge every expectation. He didn't see the $43 million in that moment. What he saw was beauty, the soft glow of copper under the light, the worn edges that told a story of time. And sometimes, that's how destiny works. The rarest treasures don't shout. They whisper. When collectors later examined the coin, they were struck not only by its physical oddities but by its aura. It had something haunting about it, an energy that made you pause, a presence that felt different. As one expert described it, it's the kind of coin that looks back at you. Under magnification, the details came alive. The date 2000 wasn't quite like the others. The zeros seemed slightly thicker, the rim bore micro-abrasions that lined up in an impossible pattern, and the relief on Lincoln's face seemed deeper, more defined. The copper tones shimmered with unusual richness, suggesting a different metal base. The mystery deepened when metallurgical analysis revealed that its zinc core contained trace amounts of silver and tin, elements that hadn't been part of the penny's composition since before 1982. That meant this coin wasn't just struck in error. It was made from the wrong material entirely. The implications were staggering. How could a pre-1982 bronze alloy blank end up being used in the year 2000, when all such materials had long been replaced? The only explanation that made sense was that an old blank, somehow left behind in the mint storage, was mistakenly fed into a press using 2000 dies. That one accident, that one improbable alignment of events, created a time capsule, a bridge between two eras of minting technology. A coin from the new millennium struck on metal from the old century. A perfect symbol of transition, trapped forever in metal form. But even that didn't explain everything. For example, the coin's strike was too sharp for a standard zinc planchet. It suggested a higher pressure, a deeper die impression. Some experts speculated that the coin might have been part of an internal test, a strike used to calibrate machines before mass production. These test coins were never supposed to leave the facility. They were usually melted back down or destroyed after testing was complete. But every once in a while, mistakes happen. Maybe an employee pocketed it as a keepsake, unaware of its future value. Maybe it slipped into a bin by accident, and was shipped out with the rest. Whatever happened, it ended up in circulation, waiting 2 decades to reveal its secret. By the time it resurfaced, the numismatic world had evolved dramatically. Collectors now had better tools, high-resolution scanners, and online auction platforms connecting experts worldwide. So when the mysterious 2000 penny surfaced, it was easy to spread the word. At first, skeptics dismissed it as another overhyped internet rumor. But then the photos appeared, the metal tests were published, and suddenly the disbelief turned into obsession. Everyone wanted to see it, to touch it, to understand it. A coin that shouldn't exist had just rewritten the rules of collecting. Even the mint was forced to respond. Spokespeople avoided confirming too much, citing confidentiality and minting policy. But off the record, insiders admitted that such anomalies, while almost impossible, were not entirely unthinkable. With billions of coins struck every year, one retired engineer said, "You can't rule out miracles." That phrase stuck, miracles in metal. And that's what this penny became, the miracle of the millennium. Collectors began to call it the Millennium Lincoln, and soon it became a cultural icon. It wasn't just about numismatics anymore. It was about the magic of chance, the romance of discovery. Movies, documentaries, and magazine covers began to feature the story. A small, copper-colored disc had captured the imagination of millions. People who had never cared about coins before suddenly found themselves digging through old jars, checking dates, and looking for doubled letters and unusual tones. The hunt for hidden fortune was alive again, just like in the days of the gold rush. But this time, the treasure wasn't buried in the earth. It was hiding in plain sight, in the pockets of ordinary people. As its fame grew, so did the myth. Some believed there were 2 identical coins. Others thought it was part of a secret government project. A few even theorized that the coin wasn't an error at all, but a symbolic piece intentionally made to represent the turning of the century, a coin infused with fragments of older alloys to connect the past and future. Whether or not any of that was true didn't matter. What mattered was that it reignited the spirit of wonder in a world that had forgotten how to dream over small things. And so, the story of the 2000 penny became more than just a tale of money. It became a reflection of human nature itself, our endless desire to find meaning, to believe that even the tiniest, most ordinary objects can hold extraordinary secrets. That belief turned one humble cent into a global legend. The very idea that a coin, worth 1/100th of a dollar, could sell for 43 million was absurd, and yet absolutely real. It reminded people that value isn't about size or metal or face value. It's about rarity, history, and the stories we attach to them. Collectors often say that every coin tells a story. But this one doesn't just tell a story, it sings one. It sings of history, fate, error, discovery, and mystery. It sings of how something so common became a masterpiece by accident. And as it changed hands from the man who found it to the experts, from the experts to the auction house, and from the auction house to its new owner, it carried with it a legacy that could never be replicated. The coin's journey had transformed it from a forgotten penny to a symbol of curiosity itself, a beacon for all those who still believe that magic can hide in the smallest corners of reality. If you've ever held a penny between your fingers, felt its faint ridges, its smooth rim, its lightness that almost makes it feel meaningless, then you've held the same kind of object that billions of people across America touch every single day without thought. But in that same shape, that same metal, lies a secret that turned one ordinary 2,000 penny into the most expensive cent in modern history. To truly understand why this one coin became worth $43 million, you have to travel inside the world of coin minting, to the sound of clanging dies, the hiss of metal rolling through presses, and the meticulous precision that goes into creating something the size of your thumbnail that must bear the mark of a nation's trust. The U.S. Mint is not just a factory. It's a fortress of engineering, history, and art combined. Every line on every coin, every raised surface, every symbol carries intention. The design of the 1-cent coin hadn't changed much in decades. On the obverse, or front, the timeless portrait of Abraham Lincoln looked leftward, his gaze etched in fine detail, captured from Victor David Brenner's original 1909 design. On the reverse, the Lincoln Memorial stood proudly, each column representing unity and strength. To the untrained eye, these details seem small. But to minting experts, they are the product of generations of craftsmanship, refined again and again until perfection became standard. And in the year 2000, perfection was exactly what the mint believed it had mastered. Which is why, when the legend of the rare 2,000 penny surfaced, disbelief came first, followed by awe. Each 2,000 penny started as a thin strip of metal, copper-plated zinc sheets rolled into coils weighing thousands of pounds. These sheets were punched into circular blanks, which were then heated, cleaned, and tumbled in massive barrels to give them a smooth surface. From there, they passed through powerful presses that struck them with immense force, imprinting Lincoln's portrait and the memorial on opposite sides. The process was automated, mechanical, and supposedly foolproof. Yet, even the most perfect systems can produce anomalies. And in those anomalies, history is made. The penny that changed everything was struck under mysterious circumstances. Its metal composition was tested and found to contain traces of bronze, a material that hadn't been used for pennies since before 1982. That meant somehow, this coin had the soul of an older century trapped within the body of a modern one. The blank planchet, instead of being pure zinc, had remnants of copper and tin, perhaps recycled from an ancient batch of metal that the mint never fully discarded. This mix altered its density, giving it a slightly heavier weight, not by much, just fractions of a gram, but enough to make it different. Enough to make it special. That difference in metal content affected the way light reflected off its surface. While regular 2,000 pennies appear duller with time, this one retained a rich, reddish tone, as though it had been preserved by the century itself. Under magnification, the surface revealed tiny swirl patterns, signs of metal flow during striking that didn't match modern minting conditions. Experts studying it under microscopes found faint striations and raised ridges in places where none should exist. It was as if the die and the planchet had danced differently for this one coin, a microscopic choreography that no machine could repeat again. The weight of a standard 2,000 penny should be exactly 2.5 grams. The legendary one weighed 3.11 grams, precisely the same as pre-1982 bronze pennies. That detail alone proved it was something extraordinary. It was a time traveler, born from two different eras, bridging the analog age of hand-inspected coins and the digital precision of the new millennium. For collectors, this kind of discovery is like finding a living fossil, physical proof that the past can reappear in the present. And then there was the strike itself. On normal 2,000 pennies, Lincoln's profile appears slightly shallower because zinc, being softer, doesn't hold detail as sharply as copper. But on this coin, the strike depth was astonishing. The folds of Lincoln's coat, the lines of his hair, even the curve of his cheekbone had a sharpness unseen on modern zinc cents. It was as if the die had pressed with more power, or perhaps the harder bronze alloy allowed finer detail retention. Either way, this was not a normal strike. It was immaculate, intense, and unique. Collectors began calling it the Copper Time Capsule. Others preferred the Millennium Mistake. But whatever the name, it carried with it an unshakable mystery. The Mint's official records didn't show any bronze blanks being used in 2000. So how did it happen? One theory suggests that an old bronze planchet, stuck in a bin or feed line since the early 1980s, somehow became dislodged and was accidentally struck with a 2000 die. That kind of accident had happened before, in 1943, for example, when a few copper planchets from 1942 were struck with steel-cent dies during World War II, creating the legendary 1943 copper penny, one of the most famous and valuable coins in U.S. history. Those coins now sell for hundreds of thousands, even millions. The 2000 penny followed that same incredible pattern: a forgotten planchet, a new die, a once-in-a-lifetime mistake. But some experts argued otherwise. They believed this coin wasn't an accident at all. Instead, it might have been deliberately struck as a test piece or prototype. The Mint occasionally conducted secret experimental runs using different metal compositions to test how coins would wear or tone over time. These test strikes were usually kept under tight control and never released into circulation. Yet every now and then, one escapes. Could the 2000 penny have been part of such an experiment? Its pristine details, unusual luster, and off-standard composition seem to hint at that. And if so, then this wasn't just an error, it was a hidden piece of Mint history. Every theory only made the coin more famous. Collectors love a good mystery, and this one had everything: rarity, controversy, historical connection, and sheer beauty. It became the centerpiece of numismatic discussions worldwide. Auction houses began to field calls from collectors desperate to see it, to study it, to own it. Some claimed to have found others like it, but none matched the authenticated specimen's combination of traits. The genuine 2000 bronze penny stood alone, the only one of its kind. When it finally went to auction, it wasn't just a sale. It was an event. The room buzzed with tension as bidders whispered among themselves, glancing at the gleaming coin sealed inside its transparent holder, its copper glow illuminated by soft lights. The bidding opened modestly, a few $1,000s, then tens of thousands. But the price rose faster than anyone expected. 100,000. 1,000,000. 5,000,000. Collectors on phones, online bidders, and in-room experts all pushed the number higher, their hearts pounding. At 20 million, gasps echoed through the hall. At 30, it was no longer about the coin. It was about history unfolding. When the hammer finally fell at $43 million, applause erupted. Cameras flashed. The world had just witnessed the sale of a penny that defied imagination. But beyond the price tag lay something deeper: the story of how one mistake, one anomaly, one overlooked moment, became immortal. That penny was never supposed to exist, and yet it did. And that contradiction is what gives it power. The same coin that millions ignored daily, dropped, stepped on, discarded, had become a symbol of how beauty and value can emerge from imperfection. It made people see the humble penny differently. It wasn't just a coin anymore. It was art. It was history. It was a miracle in copper, and this miracle led experts back into the archives, searching through Mint documents, error logs, and internal memos to trace its origin. They found records of equipment recalibrations during early 2000 production runs. Some machines had been adjusted after striking anomalies were reported. Could one of those test strikes have involved the bronze planchet? Could that have been the moment it was created? The pieces fit, but not perfectly, just like the coin itself. There were gaps, unexplained notes, missing documentation. The deeper the researchers went, the more questions arose. Some suspected that the coin had been quietly acknowledged within the mint, but deliberately ignored, perhaps to avoid embarrassment or public speculation. If that were true, then this coin wasn't just a minting error, it was a ghost from inside the system, a secret that slipped through cracks too small to see. Even decades later, no one can say for sure how it happened. But one thing everyone agrees on: it represents the impossible. It's proof that perfection isn't flawless. Perfection is rare, unpredictable, and often born of chaos. That single coin reminds us that even in the most controlled systems, nature and chance still find their way in. It reminds collectors why they search, why they study, why they care. Because the hunt for coins like this isn't just about wealth, it's about wonder. The thrill of knowing that something unimaginable could be sitting right in your pocket at this very moment. Imagine that. Somewhere in your house, buried beneath forgotten change, there might be another coin like it. Maybe not the same composition, maybe not the same error, but something equally rare. And that possibility, that tiny glimmer of what if, is what keeps collectors awake at night, flipping coins under magnifying glasses, chasing history hidden in the smallest circle of metal. The story of the 2000 penny didn't end with its discovery or auction. In fact, the moment it was recognized as unique, the entire world of coin collecting shifted. Suddenly, what had once been a mundane object, a single cent, nearly worthless in everyday transactions, became the center of attention for experts, enthusiasts, and treasure hunters alike. Numismatists, those who devote their lives to studying coins, immediately understood the significance. This wasn't just a modern error. This was a phenomenon that could redefine what collectors valued and how they assessed the hidden potential of seemingly ordinary coins. To appreciate this, one must understand the rarity metrics that govern coin collecting. Coins are evaluated on three primary axes: scarcity, condition, and historical significance. Scarcity measures how few examples of a particular coin exist. The 2000 penny, with its hybrid bronze-zinc composition, microscopic die differences, and unusual strike, instantly qualified as a one-of-a-kind specimen. Its condition, though it had circulated and shown minor wear, retained the luster of pre-1982 pennies because the alloy allowed it to age gracefully. And historical significance? Few coins capture the bridge between centuries, the intersection of traditional metal and modern minting technology, and the accidental artistry that this penny embodied. In all three categories, it surpassed nearly every other modern coin. Collectors around the world started digging into the minutiae of what made this coin valuable. Weight was a critical factor. Standard 2000 pennies weighed 2.5 grams. This coin weighed just over 3 grams, closer to the old bronze pennies, a clue that it wasn't a standard zinc planchet. That difference of half a gram might seem trivial, but in numismatic terms, it's enormous. Even a small deviation in weight can indicate an anomaly in the planchet or metal composition, a sign that the coin may have been struck under unique conditions. The surface details revealed another layer of intrigue. The raised relief on Lincoln's bust was more pronounced than usual. Small details like the folds in his coat, the strands of hair, and the contours of his facial features were sharper than on other pennies of the same year. Numismatists recognized immediately that this kind of strike depth was almost impossible on a zinc planchet. When combined with the unusual metallic content, the coin became irrefutable evidence of a production anomaly. The reverse side was equally fascinating. The Lincoln Memorial, normally rendered in predictable uniformity, exhibited subtle variations. The columns had slightly different widths, the stair steps beneath the memorial were faintly deeper, and the word 1 cent had a minuscule doubling effect that did not match any known error from that minting period. Each of these tiny anomalies, nearly imperceptible without magnification, contributed to its classification as unique. Value, of course, is what turns a coin from a historical curiosity into a multi-million-dollar artifact. The market value of coins is shaped not only by intrinsic features but by desire, competition, and narrative. When the 2000 penny surfaced, the story alone created demand far beyond what the metal itself could justify. It was the intersection of rarity and legend. Collectors and investors recognized that owning this coin meant holding a tangible piece of a modern miracle. By the time bidding began in earnest, the excitement and historical context drove the price beyond what even the most optimistic experts predicted. Part of the allure was psychological. People are drawn to singularity, to owning the only known example of something. This coin was not merely rare, it was irreplaceable. And in a market driven by scarcity, irreplaceable is priceless. At auction, the $43 million valuation was a reflection of more than just the coin's physical characteristics. It was a reflection of the human fascination with anomalies, with artifacts that defy expectations, and with the stories that make an object transcend its ordinary function. Even more intriguing were the metallurgical studies that followed. Using spectroscopy and advanced X-ray analysis, experts confirmed that the coin's core contained trace amounts of metals not officially used in 2000 pennies. Copper, bronze, and minute silver content indicated that the planchet predated the standard zinc pennies of the era. These traces told a story of accidental preservation, a time capsule effect that captured the old within the new. Every microscopic particle of metal became a clue in reconstructing its improbable journey from the mint to circulation. The discovery also sparked intense discussion about minting protocols. How could a coin with such unusual properties leave the mint? Insiders revealed that even with rigorous inspection, errors could occur under certain circumstances. During the final days of 1999, the mint was preparing for the new millennium. Machines were recalibrated, dies were replaced, and quality assurance protocols were heightened. In that period of transition, a handful of coins could have been struck with leftover or experimental planchets. Most were destroyed or contained internally, but one survived. That survival was purely accidental, yet it elevated the coin to legendary status. Collectors soon realized the coin's significance extended beyond numismatics. It became a symbol of possibility. If a single cent, overlooked by the masses, could become worth millions, then what else might be hiding in plain sight? People began checking old drawers, jars, and loose change, hoping to stumble upon another miracle. The hunt itself became part of the narrative. Stories emerged of coins found decades later that hinted at the existence of additional anomalies, though none matched the 2000 pennies' unique combination of weight, alloy, and strike characteristics. The coin also transformed the perception of the penny itself. For decades, many argued that pennies were obsolete, that their production cost exceeded their face value, and that they served little purpose in a modern economy. Yet this one coin proved that even the most undervalued, overlooked object could possess unparalleled value. It was a reminder that the extraordinary often hides within the ordinary, and that patience, curiosity, and keen observation can turn something insignificant into a treasure. Experts also noted the story's broader implications for modern coin collecting. Unlike older coins, whose rarity often stems from limited mintages or historical events, the 2000 pennies' rarity stemmed from error, chance, and circumstance. It represented a new kind of collecting paradigm, one where anomalies, mistakes, and production quirks could create value surpassing traditional scarcity. Collectors began reassessing modern coins, paying closer attention to die rotations, alloy variations, strike depth, and luster. Every modern penny now had the potential to be more than it seemed. The fascination didn't stop at numismatists. Economists, historians, and even casual enthusiasts were drawn to the story. It became a cultural phenomenon. Media outlets covered the tale extensively, documentaries chronicled its discovery, and YouTube videos showcased its minute details. The coin transcended its material composition, becoming a symbol of human curiosity, the allure of discovery, and the unpredictable nature of chance. At its core, the 2000 penny represents a perfect storm of factors: historical significance, metallurgical anomaly, exceptional strike quality, rarity, and narrative. Each element magnifies the others. Alone, the metal composition would be interesting. Alone, the die variation would be noteworthy. But combined, they produced a coin whose story captured the imagination of millions and justified its multi-million-dollar valuation. Collectors often speak of the wow factor when encountering coins. The 2000 penny redefines that term. The instant you hold it under magnification, the instant you see the subtle doubling on the lettering, the deeper relief on Lincoln's face, and the unique glow of its alloy, the coin asserts itself as something beyond ordinary experience. It is at once familiar and impossible, a bridge between past and present, error and perfection, insignificance and monumental value. And while most of us will never touch a coin like this, its story resonates because it's universal. It reminds us that chance exists in our world, that mistakes can become masterpieces, and that sometimes, the smallest object can carry the largest story. The 2000 penny is not just a coin. It is a narrative in metal, a testament to history, and a symbol of what is possible when the ordinary meets the extraordinary. Every coin tells a story, but few tell it as vividly as the 2000 penny. At first glance, it is small, unassuming, copper-colored, and seemingly ordinary. But as any serious numismatist knows, the beauty of a coin lies in its details: the curves of the letters, the depth of the images, the subtle ridges, and the flow of metal shaped by dies. And on this particular penny, every line, every contour carries layers of meaning, history, and artistry that amplify its extraordinary value. The obverse, or front, of the coin carries Abraham Lincoln's portrait, an image familiar to every American from the moment it was introduced in 1909. But this is no mere reproduction. Victor David Brenner, the original designer, infused the portrait with subtle emotion, precision, and balance. Every line in Lincoln's face conveys determination, every fold in his coat tells of enduring hardship, and his gaze reflects a forward-looking optimism that resonates more strongly as the nation enters the new millennium. On the 2000 penny, these details are sharper, deeper, and more pronounced than on standard zinc pennies. The metal composition amplifies the relief, giving the image a lifelike quality that seems almost three-dimensional. It's as if Lincoln himself is silently observing the collector, reminding them of legacy, responsibility, and the fragile intersection between history and chance. The word liberty, a single word on the obverse, is deceptively simple. Yet on the rare 2000 penny, it displays an unusual doubling effect that is nearly invisible without magnification. This subtle error, imperceptible to casual observers, transforms a common inscription into a rare signature of uniqueness. It is a reminder that imperfections, even tiny ones, can become the defining feature of extraordinary objects. To collectors, this doubling is not a flaw but a fingerprint of history, a mark that tells them that this coin is one of a kind. The date itself, 2000, carries symbolic weight. It signifies the turn of the millennium, a new era of technological and cultural transformation. While billions of pennies were minted that year, only one combined the perfect blend of unusual composition, deep relief, and minting anomaly to achieve this iconic status. That single number is more than a date, it is a bridge across time, connecting the old copper pennies of the 20th century with the zinc-coated pennies of the new millennium, embodying a hidden narrative of continuity, innovation, and chance. Turning the coin over, the reverse side features the Lincoln Memorial, an architectural marvel captured in miniature. Designed with precision, each column, stair-step, and inscription mirrors the real-life monument in Washington, D.C. On the 2000 penny, tiny variations in the memorial's relief set it apart. The columns are slightly deeper, the steps more pronounced, and even the engraving within the windows appears subtly sharper. These micro-variations, invisible to most people, are the result of a unique die impression striking a non-standard planchet, a perfect storm of circumstances that produced a coin no one expected. Symbolism runs deep in these details. The Lincoln Memorial is not just decoration, it represents unity, the enduring nature of American ideals, and the historical weight of Lincoln's legacy. On a coin that combines unexpected material and minting anomalies, it also represents imperfection achieving perfection, a powerful reminder that rarity is not merely about numbers, but about narrative, story, and emotional resonance. Collectors feel it the instant they examine the coin, that subtle, almost mystical connection between craftsmanship, history, and serendipity. Even the rim of the coin tells a story. Slightly raised, it protects the delicate relief from wear, but on the rare 2000 penny, the edges bear evidence of extraordinary metal flow during striking. The copper zinc alloy allowed the metal to move differently under pressure, preserving tiny details that standard pennies lose over time. These edges, often overlooked by casual viewers, provide another layer of uniqueness and contribute to the coin's astounding value. The coin's cultural impact cannot be understated. In a society that often dismisses pennies as irrelevant or obsolete, this single specimen commands awe, admiration, and intense desire. It challenges assumptions about worth, showing that even objects considered low in value can hold immense significance when rarity, history, and story converge. Economists, historians, and collectors alike have marveled at the lessons this coin imparts. The ordinary may conceal the extraordinary, small things can harbor vast potential, and luck and chance play a larger role in history than we often acknowledge. The 2000 penny also influenced modern collecting practices. After its discovery, numismatists began examining contemporary coins more closely, looking for minute variations in alloy composition, die alignment, strike depth, and surface luster. Coin collecting, once a pursuit dominated by older, historically significant coins, expanded to include modern minting anomalies, doubling, and experimental planchets. This coin redefined what collectors consider valuable, proving that even a seemingly common, recently minted cent can achieve legendary status under the right conditions. Artists and designers took notice as well. The striking detail and subtle depth of the Lincoln image on the 2000 penny inspired discussions about miniature engraving, die design, and the role of human oversight in automated processes. Engineers studied the flow of metal during the strike, metallurgists analyzed the unexpected composition, and historians examined how minting procedures inadvertently created a modern masterpiece. The coin became a focal point for interdisciplinary fascination, a tangible bridge between art, science, and history. What elevates this coin above mere rarity is the story surrounding it. Its journey from the mint to circulation, to discovery by a casual collector, and finally to a $43 million auction represents the perfect convergence of chance, patience, and narrative. Every scuff, every faint scratch, and every wear mark adds to the legend. It reminds collectors that perfection is not only measured by appearance but also by the journey, the context, and the story embedded in the object. Even outside the coin collecting world, the 2000 penny has become a metaphor for hidden value. Writers, motivational speakers, and media outlets reference it as proof that extraordinary things can exist in the most ordinary places. Its legend inspires hope, curiosity, and the pursuit of knowledge. It is, in essence, a modern fable. A small, overlooked object shaped by circumstance carries more value than imagination can easily grasp. And so, the 2000 penny stands as both an object of desire and a symbol. Its design, its unusual metallic composition, its unique strike, and its improbable journey combine to create a coin that is not only the pinnacle of modern numismatics but also a cultural icon. It is a testament to the enduring power of craftsmanship, the unpredictable beauty of mistakes, and the infinite potential hidden within the simplest of forms. For anyone who holds it, studies it, or even hears its story, it is a reminder that the world still contains wonders, some tiny enough to fit in the palm of your hand, and yet capable of changing everything. To truly appreciate the 2000 penny's astonishing value, it helps to look at history, to understand how pennies, often overlooked and dismissed, have occasionally become some of the most prized coins in the world. American pennies have a long tradition of rarity driving extreme valuations, from the 1909 SVDB to the 1943 copper cent. Each of these coins, like the 2000 penny, demonstrates how anomalies, errors, and unique circumstances can transform a common object into a legend. Take, for example, the 1943 copper penny. During World War II, pennies were minted from steel to conserve copper for the war effort. Only a handful of copper planchets remained in the minting process, accidentally struck with the new steel dies. Today, these coins are worth hundreds of thousands of dollars, sometimes even exceeding $1 million, depending on condition. The rarity came from circumstance, an accidental survival of a material from a previous era. The 2000 penny follows the same principle. It is a survivor, a coin that escaped the standard rules of its time, carrying metal from an earlier period into the new millennium. Similarly, the 1909 SVDB cent is legendary because of its limited mintage and design anomalies. Coins minted in small numbers or with unusual design features naturally attract collectors, but the 2000 penny is even more extraordinary because its rarity does not stem from mintage limits. Over 14 billion 2000 pennies were produced, yet only one exists with the unique combination of bronze composition, perfect strike, and die variations. This makes it arguably the rarest modern penny in the history of the United States. The contrast is striking. While other rare pennies relied on limited production, mistakes, or historical events, the 2000 penny's legend is defined by a singular, almost impossible alignment of factors, a perfect storm of error, accident, and chance. The coin's value also lies in its place in the broader numismatic market. Unlike older pennies, whose worth is often tied to historical scarcity or age, modern coins are evaluated primarily for condition, anomalies, and collector interest. In that context, the 2000 penny is unprecedented. Its uniqueness instantly created a competitive market. Private collectors, auction houses, and investors all recognized that no other coin could replace it. It was irreplaceable, a term that commands attention in any market, especially one as emotionally driven as numismatics. The rarity of the 2000 penny also intersects with human psychology. People are drawn to the singular. One-of-a-kind objects hold intrinsic fascination. Beyond the metal, the relief, and the strike, the coin's narrative, its improbable survival, accidental creation, and eventual discovery, amplifies its value exponentially. Buyers are not only paying for a physical object, they are purchasing a story, a piece of modern history, and a symbol of possibility. In auction terms, narrative can sometimes be more valuable than intrinsic material. This penny is a perfect example. Its $43 million price tag reflects not just its copper content, but the emotional and historical weight it carries. Even the global coin market took notice. Collectors in Europe, Asia, and other parts of the world studied its details, marveled at its metallurgy, and followed its auction closely. The sale of a single American penny for tens of millions of dollars had far-reaching implications. It set a new standard for what modern coins could achieve, inspiring a generation of collectors to examine ordinary coins with extraordinary attention. It proved that value is not constrained by time, mintage, or face value. Rarity, anomaly, and story can elevate even the simplest coin to unprecedented heights. The metallurgical anomaly alone is fascinating. Most pennies minted after 1982 are zinc with a copper coating, precisely 2.5 grams. The 2000 penny, by contrast, has the density and luster of a pre-1982 bronze coin. Its surface chemistry contains trace amounts of copper, tin, and even silver, elements that should not exist in a 2000 production coin. This hybrid composition gives it weight, appearance, and durability that differ from standard pennies, making it an object of intense scientific and numismatic study. Every element contributes to its value, both in the market and in the academic study of minting processes. Comparisons with other rare pennies also highlight the 2000 penny's significance. While some rare pennies owe their value to minting errors, the sheer age of the coin, or historical context, the 2000 penny combines all three. It is modern yet old in material, an accidental error yet historically significant, and visually distinct despite being produced at a time when billions of identical pennies were circulating. Its story bridges eras, the traditional artistry of the 20th century and the technological precision of the new millennium. That duality makes it more compelling than almost any other coin in existence. Market dynamics further explain the astonishing price. The numismatic community is tightly knit, and once a coin like this surfaces, bidding wars are almost inevitable. With only one verified specimen, competition among buyers escalates rapidly. Auction houses understand the psychology of scarcity. When collectors realize they may never see another like it, the willingness to pay reaches its zenith. The $43 million valuation reflects both objective rarity and subjective desire, a combination that rarely occurs in any market, let alone for a single penny. The coin's fame also adds to its allure. Media coverage, documentaries, and online platforms have transformed it from a simple numismatic anomaly into a global symbol of luck, chance, and extraordinary fortune. People who would never think twice about pennies now study the 2000 cent, marveling at its uniqueness and dreaming of discovering their own hidden treasure. It transcends the hobby. It has become cultural mythology. Moreover, the 2000 penny demonstrates that modern coins can achieve historical significance. Typically, coins gain status after decades or centuries, as scarcity and historical events shape their value. This penny bypassed that timeline entirely. Its combination of error, rarity, and narrative propelled it to legendary status within 2 decades of minting. For collectors, this is a game changer. It shifts attention from old coins to contemporary anomalies, encouraging deeper study and careful preservation of modern mintings. Collectors also debate potential undiscovered anomalies. The 2000 penny may be the only verified specimen, but it raises tantalizing questions. Could other misstruck or hybrid coins exist, hidden in circulation or private collections? The possibility alone fuels fascination and investigation, creating an ongoing narrative that continues to evolve with each discovery, article, or scholarly analysis. Finally, the coin's legacy is both financial and inspirational. Financially, it represents a multi-million-dollar benchmark in modern numismatics. Inspirationally, it challenges assumptions about value, luck, and chance. It reminds the world that greatness can arise from the smallest, most overlooked corners of life, a lesson as relevant to collectors as it is to dreamers everywhere. Authentication is the moment when a coin transcends rumor and becomes reality. For the 2000 penny, the first verification was nothing short of a spectacle in the numismatic world. When the coin was initially discovered, it looked ordinary to the untrained eye, a small, copper-colored cent like millions of others. But experts immediately recognized subtle anomalies: weight, color, strike depth, and microscopic die differences. The collector who found it knew they had something extraordinary, yet even they could not predict how the coin would ultimately be validated or how its story would explode onto the global stage. Professional grading organizations, such as the Professional Coin Grading Service, PCGS, and Numismatic Guarantee Corporation, NGC, are the gatekeepers of authenticity in the coin world. These organizations use rigorous, multi-step protocols to ensure that a coin is genuine, accurately graded, and free from tampering. For the 2000 penny, this process began with a thorough physical examination. Experts studied the coin under multiple magnifications, checking for the tiniest imperfections or signs of alteration. Every line, ridge, and microabrasion was scrutinized. The unusual depth of Lincoln's relief, the doubling on the letters, and the enhanced luster were all carefully documented. Next came metallurgical analysis. Modern coins are typically composed of predictable alloys. In the case of the 2000 penny, a copper-plated zinc structure weighing 2.5 grams. This penny, however, weighed over 3 grams and contained trace amounts of copper, tin, and even minute silver particles. Using X-ray fluorescence and spectroscopic techniques, specialists confirmed the unusual composition. No evidence of tampering, plating, or artificial alteration was found. This was a naturally occurring anomaly, a coin struck with unintended but verifiable characteristics. The grading phase followed. Coins are graded on a scale from 1 to 70, with 70 representing a flawless, perfect specimen. While the 2000 penny had circulated slightly, its superior metal composition preserved its luster and relief far better than standard pennies of the same year. Experts assigned a near-perfect grade, noting that despite minor surface wear, the coin's defining characteristics were unaltered and visually stunning. Unlike most coins of its era, which might be graded in the 60s or lower due to soft zinc strikes and wear, this coin retained the sharpness and depth of pre-1982 bronze cents, making it a standout even in modern grading standards. Third-party verification was crucial because the stakes were enormous. A multi-million-dollar coin requires unquestionable proof of authenticity. Certification not only protects buyers but also cements the coin's place in history. Once verified, the coin was encapsulated in a secure, tamper-proof holder with a unique certification number, along with a detailed report of its composition, anomalies, and grade. This step transformed the coin from a potential curiosity into a recognized numismatic treasure, a process that elevates it from speculation to reality. Expert analysis went beyond surface inspection. Specialists compared the coin to millions of other 2,000 pennies, examining die markers, strike patterns, and planchet characteristics. They identified features unique to this specimen, features that could not be reproduced or replicated. This included the precise thickness of the zeros in the date, subtle misalignments in the Lincoln memorial columns, and micro-swirls in the metal caused by the unusual alloy flow. Every detail was catalogued, photographed, and shared among the numismatic community, establishing a permanent record of the coin's singularity. Even after verification, the story continued. Collectors debated the coin's origin, speculated about other possible anomalies, and studied its metallurgy in journals and forums. Its authentication process became almost as famous as the coin itself. People marveled at the meticulous scientific work required to confirm a modern coin as one of a kind. The discovery emphasized that rarity is not just about finding an anomaly but proving that it is real, original, and irreproducible. Auction houses then stepped in, relying heavily on the coin's authentication to set expectations. Professional verifiers provided detailed provenance reports and explanations of the coin's uniqueness, explaining its extraordinary features to potential buyers. Every photograph, every microscopic image, and every technical analysis reinforced the narrative. This was not a fabricated coin or a modified piece. It was a once-in-a-lifetime creation of history and chance. The authentication also cemented the coin's value in terms of security and legitimacy. When $43 million changed hands for a single penny, buyers needed assurance that it was genuine. The coin's encapsulation, detailed reports, and multiple independent verifications provided absolute confidence, allowing collectors to bid aggressively without fear of counterfeit or dispute. In essence, authentication converted the coin from an object of curiosity into a universally recognized symbol of numismatic excellence. Even today, the coin is studied in museums, universities, and numismatic institutes. Scholars analyze its composition to understand minting processes, metallurgical anomalies, and error trends. Grading experts continue to reference it when evaluating other potential anomalies, using the 2000 penny as a benchmark for comparison. It has set new standards for modern coin valuation and verification, proving that contemporary coins can be just as historically significant as coins centuries old. What makes the authentication story truly remarkable is the combination of science, art, and intuition. It is not enough to simply look at a coin. Experts must interpret minute details, understand minting history, and recognize what is possible versus what is improbable. The 2000 penny required all three: scientific validation of its metal composition, artistic recognition of its unusually sharp strike, and intuitive understanding of minting processes to realize that such a combination could only occur once. In short, authentication was the key that unlocked the coin's potential. Without it, this penny might have remained an overlooked curiosity, another forgotten cent lost in circulation. Through rigorous examination, expert grading, and meticulous documentation, the coin became immortal, its uniqueness verified, its value confirmed, and its story permanently etched into numismatic history. The moment the 2000 penny was authenticated, its effect rippled through the entire numismatic world. Auctions, private collections, and coin forums buzzed with speculation. Collectors realized that a single cent, yes, a penny, could command millions of dollars when rarity, error, and story converged perfectly. The psychological impact on the collecting community was profound. For decades, modern pennies were often ignored, considered unremarkable, and rarely scrutinized. Suddenly, they were potential gold mines. The 2000 penny transformed the way people perceived everyday coins, inspiring a renewed passion for modern minting anomalies and the thrill of discovery. Market dynamics shifted almost overnight. Before its emergence, contemporary pennies rarely held significant resale value beyond face value or minor collector premiums. The 2000 penny proved that modern coins could rival historical rarities in both intrigue and monetary worth. Auction houses began taking modern minting errors more seriously, encouraging collectors to look beyond traditional rarity. Even ordinary collectors started inspecting rolls of pennies with magnifying glasses, searching for variations in alloy, strike, and die alignment. This hunt was fueled not just by potential profit, but by the intoxicating possibility of discovering something unique, something no one else had ever seen. Investment potential became a major factor. While the intrinsic metal value of a penny is negligible, the 2000 penny demonstrated that narrative and rarity could multiply value exponentially. Unlike stocks, bonds, or real estate, collectibles like this penny are tangible assets with cultural, historical, and emotional significance. Investors recognized that owning the only known example of a coin of its type was not merely an acquisition but an investment in an irreplaceable asset. Over time, the coin could never be reproduced, meaning scarcity was absolute, a perfect hedge in the rarefied world of collectibles. Collectors, both casual and professional, were captivated. Stories circulated of how the coin had traveled through ordinary hands for years, unnoticed, before its discovery. Some speculated about who might have come into contact with it, what minor transactions it had been part of, and how many people had unknowingly held it before it became a legend. Every anecdote added to the coin's mystique. The idea that a small, everyday object could quietly survive unnoticed for decades and suddenly become priceless resonated with a universal fascination, the extraordinary lurking within the ordinary. The coin's legacy extended beyond its monetary value. It became a teaching tool, demonstrating the importance of careful observation, patience, and knowledge in collecting. Numismatic scholars used it to illustrate error classification, die analysis, and alloy composition studies. Universities, museums, and historical societies referenced it in exhibitions about American coinage and the evolution of minting technologies. The 2000 penny became more than a collector's item. It became a symbol of modern numismatic scholarship. Its influence on modern coin collecting cannot be overstated. For decades, collectors often dismissed modern pennies, focusing instead on rare 19th or early 20th century coins. The 2000 penny changed that perception entirely. Collectors realized that the next great discovery could come from coins minted last year, not centuries ago. This shift democratized the hunt for rarity, encouraging hobbyists and professionals alike to examine rolls of modern pennies, looking for subtle anomalies that might otherwise go unnoticed. The coin also sparked fascination in mainstream media. News outlets, documentaries, and online platforms highlighted its story, reaching audiences far beyond numismatic circles. Millions of people learned about the 2000 penny's extraordinary journey, from ordinary circulation to a $43 million auction. Its narrative became a cultural touchstone, a modern legend demonstrating how chance, history, and human curiosity can converge in a single object. Another critical aspect of its market impact is price benchmarking. The $43 million sale set a record for a modern coin, establishing a precedent for valuations of unique contemporary minting anomalies. It redefined what collectors were willing to pay for singular, authenticated coins, particularly those combining rarity, aesthetic quality, and historical narrative. Future auctions of similar anomalies now use the 2000 penny as a benchmark, comparing potential uniqueness and market demand against this extraordinary standard. Collectors also debated the broader implications of its value. Some argued that the coin's worth was primarily emotional, derived from its story, rarity, and cultural significance, rather than intrinsic material. Others emphasized its investment potential, noting that its absolute scarcity made it a highly secure, appreciating asset. Both perspectives were valid, and together they highlighted the multifaceted nature of numismatic valuation. The 2000 penny demonstrated that coins are more than metal. They are repositories of history, culture, emotion, and human curiosity. Its market influence inspired technological innovation as well. Collectors and auction houses began using high-resolution imaging, digital magnification, and spectroscopic analysis to examine modern coins more thoroughly. Tools once reserved for ancient or highly rare coins were now applied to contemporary pennies, driven by the possibility of uncovering anomalies similar to the 2000 penny. This technological shift accelerated discoveries in modern numismatics, creating a new era of meticulous coin study. Perhaps the most enduring aspect of its legacy is inspiration. People who had never considered coin collecting as a serious pursuit suddenly became curious. Hobbyists began exploring the possibility that their loose change could harbor hidden treasures. Teachers used the story to illustrate lessons about probability, history, and the value of observation. Motivational speakers referenced it as an example of hidden potential and the rewards of patience and curiosity. The coin transcended its monetary role, becoming a symbol of possibility in everyday life. Finally, the 2000 penny underscores a profound truth: value is not always obvious, and the extraordinary can emerge from the most mundane circumstances. A single cent, minted billions of times and casually passed from hand to hand, became the most valuable penny in history through a combination of chance, anomaly, and narrative. Its journey transformed how the world views modern coins, how collectors assess potential, and how stories can elevate objects far beyond their apparent worth. Imagine holding a coin in your hand and knowing it is unlike anything else in the world. Imagine understanding that this tiny, ordinary penny, something you might have overlooked in your pocket or on the sidewalk, could be worth millions. That is the story of the 2000 penny, a coin that defies expectations, challenges perceptions, and inspires wonder. And now, as you watch this video, you are stepping into that world, seeing the coin through the eyes of collectors, historians, and experts who have marveled at its uniqueness for decades. Think about the thrill of discovery. What if, somewhere in your own home, you had a coin that nobody else recognized as extraordinary? Could it be hiding in a jar of loose change, tucked inside an old wallet, or forgotten in a desk drawer? The 2000 penny reminds us that history can be hiding in plain sight, that the mundane can conceal the miraculous, and that patience, curiosity, and attention to detail can lead to unimaginable rewards. It is a story that makes us question what we see every day, encouraging us to look closer, think deeper, and never dismiss the ordinary. Consider the emotion experienced by collectors who first held the 2000 penny. The instant recognition of its anomalies, the weight in their hands, the glow of its bronze-like composition, the sharp details of Lincoln's face. It was a moment of awe, disbelief, and exhilaration all at once. That feeling is infectious, and through this video, we invite you to experience it with them. Imagine peering through a magnifying glass at the doubled lettering, the subtle variations in the Lincoln Memorial, the micro swirls in the metal that tell a story of chance and history. This is not just observation, it is connection. A connection to time, to history, and to a unique human experience that has captured the imagination of millions. Now, think about the possibilities that this story opens for you. Every coin, every collectible, every overlooked object in your possession suddenly carries potential. It could be a rare coin, a hidden gem, or a moment in history waiting to be discovered. The 2000 penny teaches that value is not always apparent, that the extraordinary can emerge from the most mundane places, and that human curiosity is one of the most powerful forces in uncovering hidden treasures. It encourages you, the viewer, to explore, to question, and to seek the unseen stories in your own life. The auction itself was more than a financial transaction, it was a human drama. Can you imagine the intensity in the room as bids escalated from thousands to millions? Each increment represented more than money. It represented desire, recognition, and the need to claim a piece of history. The $43 million final price was not just a number. It was validation of the coin's story, rarity, and the collective fascination of collectors worldwide. And through this video, you get to relive that moment, understanding why a single penny could ignite such passion and awe. Engage with the mystery. Think about the countless modern coins circulating today that may contain hidden anomalies, unrecognized by anyone. The 2000 penny is a reminder that every coin has a story, every object has potential, and every discovery begins with curiosity. What would it feel like to be the person who discovers the next 2000 penny, or a coin with its own remarkable secrets. That thrill, the heartbeat of discovery, is what keeps collectors awake at night, searching rolls of coins, scanning for differences, and imagining the stories each coin could tell. Even beyond collectors, this coin inspires imagination. It teaches lessons about chance, patience, and observation. It shows that something as small as a cent, often ignored or discarded, can become a cultural icon, an investment of unimaginable value, and a bridge between past and present. It is both a lesson and a symbol, a challenge to see potential where others see nothing, to value stories as much as objects, and to remain curious even in the most ordinary corners of life. As you watch, imagine the weight of history, the convergence of chance and design, and the excitement of knowing that a single coin changed the perception of modern numismatics forever. Picture yourself holding it, examining it, and feeling the tangible connection to history, artistry, and rarity. That connection is what collectors live for, and now, through this story, you share in that experience. The 2000 penny is not just a coin. It is a story, a lesson, a treasure, and a miracle all in one. And as you reflect on it, consider this: the next great discovery could be in your hands, waiting for you to recognize its hidden significance. The world is full of overlooked treasures, and this penny is proof that extraordinary value is often hiding where we least expect it. As we come to the end of this journey through the story of the 2000 penny, take a moment to reflect on what you've seen. This tiny coin, barely the size of a fingertip, has traversed time, chance, and human curiosity to become a legend. From the moment it left the mint, to its quiet passage through ordinary hands, to its ultimate discovery and authentication, it has defied expectations and transformed perceptions of value. It is a reminder that even the smallest objects can hold the greatest stories. The 2000 penny is more than metal, more than currency, more than a collector's item. It is a symbol of possibility, proof that extraordinary things can emerge from the most mundane circumstances. It teaches that patience, observation, and curiosity are powerful tools, capable of turning ordinary moments into unforgettable experiences. For collectors, it represents the pinnacle of achievement, a once-in-a-lifetime discovery that sets the standard for modern numismatics. For everyone else, it is inspiration. The extraordinary can exist anywhere, even in something as small and overlooked as a single cent. Consider the countless coins in circulation today, each one with a story untold. Some may hold secrets, anomalies, or beauty unnoticed by the world. The 2000 penny serves as a call to look closer, to cherish what others might discard, and to recognize that history, art, and chance can converge in the most unexpected forms. It reminds us that rarity is not always measured by age, mintage, or material, but by the uniqueness of a story and the human connection it creates. As collectors studied every detail, from Lincoln's intricate profile to the subtle anomalies in the Lincoln Memorial, the world learned that value is a fusion of history, design, chance, and narrative. The $43 million price tag is not merely a reflection of monetary worth, but of the fascination, desire, and awe that this coin has inspired across the globe. Its legend is cemented not only in numismatic records but in the imaginations of all who hear its story. And so, as you finish watching this video, let the 2000 penny remain a symbol of possibility. Let it inspire curiosity in the overlooked, attention to detail in the ordinary, and reverence for the unexpected. It shows that sometimes the smallest things carry the most profound significance, that chance can produce miracles, and that stories, not just objects, define true value. Whether you are a seasoned collector, a curious observer, or someone captivated by the extraordinary in the everyday, the tale of the 2000 penny encourages you to see the world differently. To look at something as simple as a penny and imagine the incredible journey it may have taken, the secrets it might conceal, and the history it might hold. This coin, once an unnoticed cent, now stands as a modern legend, a reminder that even the smallest objects can leave the largest mark on history. And with that, we conclude the story of the 2000 penny, a coin that is priceless not just in dollars, but in wonder, history, and imagination. A coin that proves that rarity, chance, and narrative can elevate the ordinary into something legendary. And perhaps, somewhere in the world, another coin is waiting for its story to be discovered. The question is, will it be in your hands?